Welcome to the Department of Disability Services Testing Administration Center, or the TAC, training video. This video will last approximately 20 minutes and contains important information on how to utilize your testing accommodations by using the TAC. In this video, we're going to show you how to schedule your exams or quizzes using Tracker Online, and how to make changes to completed exam schedules that have already been submitted and processed. Additionally, we will cover some important deadlines to follow when scheduling exams with our department. We will conclude this video by talking about the policies and procedures of the TAC. First and foremost, the process we will be discussing will need to be completed only when testing in the TAC. If your instructor can accommodate you and you will not be taking exams in the TAC, you do not need to complete this process. First, you will go to the Disability Services website at disability.tamu.edu and click on the Tracker Online quick link, or click on the icon of the dog that says Tracker Online below it. You are going to log into Tracker using your Net ID and password. From there, click on the Exams tab. Once you are on the exam page, you should find a list of your courses. On the right-hand side of the screen, there is a column that says Add/Delete. In that column, you are going to click Add Exam Schedule for the class that you are scheduling exams or quizzes. Under Contact Information, you will fill in the required information if it is not already filled in for you. You will not be able to proceed if the instructor's name and email address are not entered. Under Exam Details, you will enter the date of when you will take the exam or quiz in the TAC. To the right of that, you will enter the time that you will start the exam or quiz in the TAC. Note: unless you have a time conflict, you should generally be taking your exam or quiz at the same time as your class. An example of when you might take your exam or quiz at a different time is when you have back-to-back classes, and the only way to receive your accommodations is to take your exam or quiz at a different time. Next, you will use the drop-down menu to select the length of time for your exam or quiz. It is important to select the length that the class will have to take the exam or quiz. Tracker will automatically add the extra time on the exam or quiz for you depending on your accommodations. For example, if your class has 50 minutes to take an exam or quiz, you should put 50 minutes in this box. Finally, to the right of the exam length, there are two checkboxes. The first one asks if you are taking the exam or quiz on the same date as your class. The second one asks if you are taking the exam or quiz at the same time as your class. As we mentioned before, most of the time you should be taking your exams or quizzes at the same time on the same day as your class unless there is a conflict. Once you have finished entering the information, you will click Add Another Exam on the far right-hand side of the screen. You will repeat this process for all of the exams or quizzes that are on your syllabus for that specific class. When entering information for your final exam, if applicable, make sure that you fill in the correct exam length if it is different than the standard 2 hours allotted for final exams. If your instructor does not list your exams or quizzes on the syllabus, you should meet with your instructor to obtain the necessary dates of exams or quizzes and then fill the form out. If you or your instructor need to make any alterations to the exam/quiz schedule form, including such things as adding exam dates and times or changing test dates and times, you can make those changes by writing the change on the exam/quiz schedule form and having your instructor initial by each change. After you have entered the information for each exam or quiz, there will be a section titled Special Testing Needs. If your accommodations include a computer for essay, reader, scribe, or other special accommodation, there will be accommodations listed at the top of the Special Testing Needs section. Uncheck any accommodation that does not apply to the course you are currently taking. For example, if you are taking a political science class that only has multiple choice exams, you would uncheck computer for essay if that is one of your accommodations. The checkboxes in the Special Testing Needs section only appear if you have been approved for certain accommodations. If your class requires a computer, software, or a listening device for an exam, make sure to type specifically what you need in the Computer Needs section. Doing so allows us to ensure that we have the necessary equipment and software to complete your exam or quiz. Once you have completely filled out the exam schedule, you will click Submit. Tracker will automatically send you back to the exam page. From there, you will click Print Signature Form. What you should find is a completed form listing all of the exams or quizzes that you entered into Tracker Online for that specific class. The first portion of the exam/quiz schedule form will have general course information, such as the course and section number, your instructor's name, and contact information. The second portion of the form will be a chart listing the dates and times of your exams or quizzes with other necessary details and a column on the right for your instructor to initial. The last portion of the form will have space for your instructor to sign and date. You should repeat this process for all classes in which you will use the TAC. Print this form out and take it to your instructor, who will initial in the far right column beside each exam or quiz, and sign and date at the bottom of the form. Once your instructor has initialed and signed the form, you have one of two options. You can either deliver the exam/quiz schedule form to Kane Hall, room B116, or you can scan and email the form to testadmin@tamu.edu. Students need to schedule all exams or quizzes at the beginning of the semester. It is important that you be aware of 3 critical deadlines for testing in the TAC. First, in the fall and spring, your exam/quiz schedule forms must be received by the TAC staff at least 5 business days before you are to take your first exam or quiz in the TAC. Second, the summer deadline is 2 business days before the first exam or quiz you will be taking in the TAC. Please note that the deadlines do not include the day you take the exam or quiz. Finally, approximately 2 weeks before finals, the TAC will have an end of the semester deadline. This deadline is the last day to schedule any exams or quizzes to be taken in the TAC. The exact date of the end of semester deadline is determined each semester, and students are notified well in advance of the deadline. All dates and deadlines for the TAC are listed on your Tracker Online homepage on the right-hand side of the screen. An example of scheduling in regards to the 2 or 5 business day deadline. If your instructor is giving your class the exam or quiz on a Wednesday in the fall or spring semester, you must submit your exam/quiz schedule form on the Wednesday before the exam or quiz. Think of it as counting backwards. Tuesday, Monday, Friday, Thursday, Wednesday. Please note that Saturday and Sunday are not business days, as the TAC is closed. Again, scheduling all exams or quizzes at the start of the semester is a great way to avoid scheduling confusion. If you should miss the deadlines for scheduling exams or quizzes, you may do one of 4 things. First, you can ask your instructor to postpone the exam or quiz and allow you to take it on a different day that allows you to meet the TAC deadline after you submit the request. You can ask your instructor if they can provide your exam accommodations. Understand that your instructor is not obligated to accommodate you if you missed the scheduling deadline. The third option is for you to take the exam or quiz in class without accommodations. Lastly, if your situation is based on extenuating circumstances outside of your control, you can send an email to testadmin@tamu.edu and ask for an exception to the deadline. The email should include the student's full name, the class, the instructor's name, the requested exam date, whether the exam or quiz has been discussed with the instructor or not, and the reason for the request. All missed deadline requests will be considered and decided upon by the TAC staff on a case-by-case basis. You will receive an email from the TAC stating whether your request has been accepted or denied. If you should miss your exam or quiz for whatever reason, any exam rescheduling must be done in accordance with your instructor's makeup policy and student rules. You should first speak with your instructor before attempting to reschedule your exam or quiz. If your instructor were to allow you to take a makeup exam, and the new date for the exam is at least 5 business days in advance, you will go into Tracker and click Add Exam, and schedule the exam to be taken in the TAC as you normally would. If the date of the makeup exam is less than the TAC deadline, you can send an email request for a deadline exception. The email should include the student's full name, the class, the instructor's name, the requested exam date, whether the exam or quiz has been discussed with the instructor or not, and the reason for the request. When your exam/quiz scheduling form is received in the TAC, our staff will process your request. When you go to the Exam tab in Tracker, after your exam/quiz scheduling form has been processed, on the right-hand side of the screen you will have 2 options: Exam Change Request and Exam Cancellation Request. Additionally, next to each class there will be an Add Exam button. If you click Exam Change Request, you will be taken to a list of your currently scheduled exams and quizzes. You will click on the exam or quiz that needs to be changed, and below you will enter the new information for that particular exam or quiz. Once you have submitted the change to your exam or quiz, an email is automatically sent to your instructor and to the TAC asking them to approve the change. You are strongly encouraged to speak with your instructor before you attempt to make a change to an exam or quiz to avoid any possible delays or confusion. All exam changes must be made in accordance with the exam and quiz scheduling deadline or the end of the semester deadline. If your instructor were to add an exam or quiz to the course, you would go to the Exam tab and click on the Add Exam button next to the appropriate course. There will be spaces to enter the new exam or quiz information. Once you have entered the necessary information, click Submit, and a notice will automatically be sent to your instructor and the TAC for approval. Remember, all exams and quizzes, including new exams and quizzes, need to be scheduled in accordance with the exam and quiz scheduling deadline. To cancel a previously scheduled exam or quiz, click on the Exam Cancellation Request button, where you will be taken to a list of all of your scheduled exams and quizzes. You will select which exam or quiz you would like to cancel, and below that you will need to explain why you are canceling your exam. After you type your initials into the bottom box, click Submit Request to cancel your exam or quiz. A notice about your cancellation request is sent to your instructor and the TAC staff. Regardless of why you cancel your exam or quiz, you should speak with your instructor before you make the cancellation. Once you have successfully scheduled all of your exams or quizzes using Tracker Online, and your exam/quiz schedule forms have been submitted and processed, you are ready to test in the TAC. The TAC is located in Kane Hall, room B116, directly across from the Disability Services main office. The TAC is open Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 7:30 p.m., and Friday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. in the fall and spring semesters, and 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. in the summer semester. When you come into the office, there will be bins and cubbies to put your book bags and possessions in, as they are not allowed to be taken into the testing area. Please do not leave your items on the floor or anywhere besides the designated bins, as it blocks walkways. Please note that you are responsible for providing all of the necessary testing materials that you need, which may include, but is not limited to, Scantrons, pencils, and calculators. You may also want to bring a long-sleeve shirt or jacket with you, as the TAC can sometimes be cold. You are allowed to start your exam or quiz up to 15 minutes early. Otherwise, you need to be on time for your exam or quiz. Once you are 15 minutes late, an exam or quiz is sent back to the instructor, and you will not be able to test in the TAC without making other arrangements. At the front desk, you will need to present a photo ID and surrender your cell phone to the person at the front desk to be kept in the lobby area while you take your exam or quiz. Hats are not allowed in the testing center. Additionally, food and drinks are also not allowed in the testing area, with the exception of water that is in a clear water bottle. Any snacks that may be needed must be kept in the lobby area and cannot be taken into the testing area with you. Once you have checked in, you will be assigned a seat in a particular area of the testing center, and your testing time will begin. Once your time has started, it will not be stopped unless there are extenuating circumstances that will have to be discussed with the TAC staff or your access coordinator. You may ask TAC staff or proctors for clarification if you should have a concern about a question or don't understand the directions. The TAC staff and proctors will not answer questions if they are deemed to be about course content. Please note that you must complete your exam or quiz in the allotted time, including your Scantron. During busy testing days and finals week, the TAC is not able to accommodate all exams in the testing center and will use various locations across campus to provide testing accommodations. You will be notified by email if you are assigned to take your exam or quiz in an alternate location. If there is an emergency situation and a code Maroon alert is issued, the alert may be played over the speakers in the TAC. The TAC staff will also come into the testing area and notify students of the situation and give further directions or instruction. Unless the code Maroon indicates otherwise, students have the choice of whether to keep testing or leave the building. You may choose to leave, but you will need to discuss how and when you will complete or make up the exam with your instructor. Finally, please note that the TAC upholds the highest standards of academic integrity. Any conduct violations or academic misconduct will be reported to your instructor and to the Aggie Honor System office. Remember, the Aggie Honor Code states, "An Aggie does not lie, cheat, or steal, nor tolerate those who do." TAC staff, proctors, and surveillance cameras are used to ensure that students are acting in a way that upholds academic integrity. Okay, let's review. In this video, we discussed how to schedule, add, change, and cancel exams or quizzes to be taken at the TAC. Additionally, we reviewed the policies and procedures for taking exams and quizzes in the TAC. All exams or quizzes to be taken in the TAC must be entered into Tracker, printed on an exam/quiz schedule form, initialed and signed by your instructor, and turned into the TAC by the appropriate deadline. All exams or quizzes must be scheduled at least 5 business days in advance in the fall or spring, or 2 business days in advance in the summer. All exam/quiz changes or add requests must be made at least 5 business days in advance in the fall or spring, or 2 business days in advance in the summer. To appropriately accommodate all of our students, all testing administration policies and procedures must be followed when you are using the TAC. All of the information discussed in this video can also be found on the Testing Administration Center procedure sheet provided by Disability Services, or on our website, disability.tamu.edu/TAC. If you should have further questions or concerns, please contact the TAC by emailing testadmin@tamu.edu or by calling 979-862-4570. Thank you.